Good evening, student. Uh, Welcome back to my channel again today. So today I'll be continuing with the our next topic of the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In my last video, I discussed about the male reproductive system of the flower. We discussed about anther and the detailed structure of anther we have discussed. Today I am going to discuss the female reproductive organ, the system of the flower. Okay, let's start with this. And again, a request to all of you: sit with your copy and pen so that you can jot down, okay, the important things. The female reproductive organ of a flower is known as you know, it is gynoecium. Is the female reproductive structure, you can say. Actually, it is the term gynoecium means group of carpels. Group of carpels. Okay, or we can say pistils. That is the gynoecium. Okay, so these are the units, single units, okay, of female reproductive system. So these are the female single units of the reproductive organ. This is the group of pistil or carpels. Okay, that is the gynoecium. Fine. So now let's draw this pistil or the carpel first. Okay, let me draw here. Okay, so suppose this is the structure of the carpel or the pistil. Fine. So this part, as we know, so let's rub this area so that I can write the details here. This is the, let's label it with the another color. It will help you to understand. So this is the stigma. This part is the style, okay, and this is the ovary. Okay, stigma, style and ovary, that makes one single carpel or pistil. Now what we see here, ovule. Okay, so it is the ovule here. Now there may be one single ovule or there may be more than one ovules. Okay, it may vary. There are fruits or the grains which are having one single ovule. Like for example, okay, if I talk about single ovule, okay, I'll get examples like mango. Okay, then rice, wheat. Okay, these are having one single ovule in them. Fine. This is the fruit, these are the grains. There is a difference, distinct difference between a fruit and grains. Okay, what is a grain actually? Grain is, how to define grain? Grain is something where the fruit wall and seed coat fused together. Okay, this is how we can define grains. Fine, but the seed coat and the fruit wall fused together. Seed coat means the seed wall. That is a grain here. So rice and wheat having the one single ovule, fruit, mango, single ovule again. Now more than one ovules. Let's see, there are fruits, for example, which are having more than one ovules. So multiple ovules. Okay, examples: papaya, watermelon, Okay, these are the examples of multiple ovules in the ovary. Fine. Now, how to understand that which fruit or grain is having one single ovule and which are having multiple ovules? How to understand this? Very simple. If we see the seed, okay, that decides the number of ovules, because ovule that matures into seed. If in a fruit, for example, if I see one seed, that is, it means that there was only one ovule. Ovule matures into seed. So mango having one seed in it, so one ovule. Papaya, you see there are many ovules inside, multiple ovules. Watermelon also we see multiple ovules in ovule, because multiple seeds we see in these fruits. Understood? So this is how we have to identify the which is having one ovule, single ovule, and which is having more than one ovules. Fine. Okay. This is the ovule. Now let's see one more. The next idea is that this carpel or pistil, I have drawn one single carpel or pistil. Okay. Now, if there is more than one carpels or pistil, okay, they can be in two different ways. So we are dividing them. Okay. As there are more than one carpel, so let me write it here. If there is more than one carpels, it means that there are many carpels. So we are dividing now. Okay. There is a term called syncarpus and there is a term called apocarpus. Carpus. Okay. Syncarpus and apocarpus. Fine. Very important terms. Syncarpus means what? Syncarpus means where the carpels are fused. So fused carpels. More than one carpels are present in a flower, but these flowers are these carpels, okay, are fused with one another. Okay. For example, in rose, we see fused carpels. Okay. Lotus, okay, we see syncarpus structure, means fused carpels. Apocarpus, just opposite, free carpels. Free carpels. So carpels are free from each other. There are more than one carpels and they are free from each other. They are not fused. Okay. Very good example is China rose. If you have seen China rose, if you have not seen, because there are students I have discussed with them, they don't even, till now, they don't even seen that there are stigma present inside in hibiscus, and there are many more than, there are almost, we can say 5, mostly we see that 5 different stigma in the hibiscus, and they are freely existing. Okay, so that is the China rose. Okay, let me show here only. Like this is it is China rose. We see that the ovary here at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how 5 different stigma is clearly visible in hibiscus, and they are free from each other. They are not fused. Okay, so this is very important. So in this context, what we have discussed, carpel structure, if ovule we have seen, if there is one ovule, then we have seen the examples, more than one ovules we have seen, and a carpel, if there is one carpel, there are many carpels also. Many carpels, if they are seen either in syncarpus form or in apocarpus form. Okay, fused or free carpels. Clear? Fine. Now we will see this part is done. Okay, let's rub this. Now you will see this ovule. The diagram of ovule is very important for you. Okay. So let's rub this also. I will draw now this ovule in detail. Okay. Structure. Now see how I am going to draw this ovule diagram. Okay. It is very easy way to draw. There are 5 steps. In 5 steps, I'll complete the diagram. You have to practice the same way. Okay. Done. Fine. See, this is the simple diagram of an anatropous ovule. It is an anatropous ovule. Anatropous ovule. What does this anatropous ovule mean? This the diagram that I have drawn exactly, we can say 180-degree opposite. I mean, this should be down, this should be up. Okay, so I have drawn an opposite 180-degree opposite way. This is called anatropous. This is also an arrangement of an ovule. Okay, there are many other ways of arrangement of the ovule. This is one of that anatropous ovule I have drawn. Okay. Now let's label it. So see, five ways I have, in 5 steps I have completed this. One I have drawn this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish. Okay. So let's label it. This part is known as funicle. I will explain each and every part. Okay. First let me label this. This area is called raphe. This area is the hilum. This area is the hilum. Okay. This is the outer integument. This is the inner integument. Okay. Here we see nucellus cells. Okay, and this is the embryo sac. Okay, and one more is left, this area. This part is known as micropyle. Fine. So this is the labeling of an anatropous ovule. So let's go one by one. First is the funicle. This is an axis. You can write down also. Okay, this is an axis which connects to the placenta. Okay, of the ovary. Placenta that connects this axis to the ovary wall. I am repeating it. Funicle is the axis that connects to the placenta. Okay, and placenta that connects this ovule. You can say this ovule, placenta connects this ovule to the ovary wall. Because this whole ovule is actually present where? Okay. Just 1 second. Let's rub this name here. Just okay, suppose this is the ovary within which the ovule I have drawn. Okay, this is the funicle, the axis which connects to the placenta of the ovary. Now what is placenta? One name, placenta. You have to remember this. Placenta are cushion-like tissues present inside the ovary. Okay, one-liner definition: cushion-like tissues present inside the ovary. Fine, that is the placenta. So this axis connects to those tissues, the placenta, and which connects this whole ovule to the ovary wall. Clear? Next is raphe. So this one is done. Next is raphe. Raphe is nothing but you see this axis when it is connecting to the ovule. Okay, a ridge-like structure form. A ridge-like structure form. Bulged area. This area is called raphe. Now next is hilum. Hilum is, you can say, it's a point of attachment. Point of attachment of the funicle to the ovule. Okay, so you can write here point of attachment of the funicle to the ovule. That is the hilum. Okay. Now next, micropyle. Micropyle is the opening to the ovule. We will see later on the next topic we will discuss when we will see the micropyle. Okay, it is just an opening where the integuments are absent. Okay, these integuments are nothing but layers. Outer integuments, outer membrane, inner integument, inner membrane. This here you can see the integuments are absent. So this is the opening, okay, towards the ovule, inside ovule. So this is the micropyle or micropylar pore, we say. Okay, and one more thing, as the micropyle is present at this area, we say this end of the ovule as micropylar end, and the opposite area we say the chalazal end. Okay, I will write this. I will be drawing one more diagram of this embryonic sac, then I will explain to you. Okay, so micropyle done, outer inner integuments done, outer layer, inner layer of the ovule. Nucellar cell. The next is nucellar cells. So here there are many nucellar cells present. Okay, what are these nucellar cells actually? These nucellar cells are nothing but parenchyma cells, you can say. Okay, so these are nothing but, I am writing here, parenchyma cells which are rich in nutrients. Okay, rich in nutrients. Fine. These are nucellar cells which are parenchymatous cells and rich in nutrients. Now the last is embryo sac. So inside structure, this is the embryo sac. Okay, we will see that this is also known as female gametophyte. So this embryo sac, where to write? This is the embryo sac here. And just in short, I am writing. You write in details here. This is the female gametophyte. The embryo sac is also known as the female gametophyte. One more information along with this. This ovule, the diagram I have drawn, the ovule is also known as megasporangium. So very good information. Let me write here. Ovule is also known as megasporangium. Okay, and the embryo sac is the female. The embryo sac is also known as the female gametophyte. Okay, so the meaning of this term has to be very clear. It should not be a mechanical understanding, mechanical learning, mugging up the things. The understanding, the concept should be clear. If you mug up these things mechanically, you will not be able to remember this for a long time. Okay, understand each and every term with little interest. You will never forget this. So ovule is the megasporangium and embryo sac is the female gametophyte. So this is the whole labeling part. Okay, fine. Now one more term I am going to discuss. I am just rubbing at one side. Okay, the terms I am using are important for you. Placenta I have rubbed, placenta is important. One more term is the perisperm. Perisperm, very important term relating to this context only. What is perisperm? See, this is related to the nucellar cells which are present here. Nucellar cells. Okay, in most of the angiosperms, okay, these nucellar cells are utilized. All the nucellar cells are utilized, okay, you can say exhausted, okay, for the development of the embryo sac. Because these nuclear cells are rich in what? Nutrients. So these nutrients are required for the growth and development of the embryo sac. So in most of the angiosperms we see almost all the nuclear cells are exhausted, all the nutrients are exhausted. But in some angiosperms we see that some of the nuclear cells with nutrients remain there inside the ovule, and they remain in the seed also. Why I am saying in the seed also? Because the ovule matures into seed. So what is present inside the ovule means, in this case, the nucellus which is remain left inside the ovule, little amount of the nucellus which is left inside the ovule. When the ovule will mature into seed, we will see a layer of nucellus cells present inside the seed. Okay, that layer of nucellus cell inside the seed is known as perisperm. So a layer of remaining nucellus cells inside seed is known as perisperm. Understood? Fine. Now let's move on to the next topic. I'm loving this whole thing, okay? Our next topic today is megasporogenesis, okay? Megasporogenesis, okay? What is this megasporogenesis? Just one second. Okay, this megasporogenesis, let's see the meaning. First term is the megaspore and then genesis. Okay, so it means that megaspore genesis means formation. So this is the process of megaspore formation or production is known as megasporogenesis. The definition is done. Okay. Now we will see the process of this formation. Fine. There are cells known as, in the ovule, known as megaspore mother cells. MMC. These megaspore mother cells are nothing but mature nucellus cells, okay, inside the ovule. These megaspore mother cells, they undergo meiosis cell division. It means that each of the cells, so let's make it cell. So each of the cell, if undergo meiosis cell division, they are going to produce 4 new daughter cells. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 new daughter cells are formed. So these daughter cells are actually what? These daughter cells are nothing but megaspore, because this is megasporogenesis. So megaspore mother cell. So it is a common sense that megaspores are going to form from the megaspore mother cell. Understood? So these 4 are the megaspores. Fine. Okay. Now this megaspore, as I have drawn, they arranged in this linear fashion inside the ovule. Okay. So it means that like this. If I just let me draw here only. Suppose this is the ovule and inside this is the ovule. And inside the ovule, okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 megaspore are arranged in this kind of linear fashion. Okay. Now, suppose this side is the chalazal end, and this side is the micropylar end. So microbial pore is there. This is no microbial pore. This is chalazal end. Chalazal end. Chalazal mean there is no meaning of this. Chalazal name of the scientist. Okay, the person who have studied on this first time. Now, what happens? This is a genetic expression. Out of these 4 megaspore, 3 of these megaspore, which is on the top 3 megaspores, they degenerate. They degenerate means damaged. Only the last one, the last megaspore, which is at the chalazal end, that remains functional. So this remains functional. So out of 4 megaspores, I see only 1 megaspore left functional. Okay, rest of them become non-functional. They degenerates. So one only remain left, that is the megaspore left here. Understood? So this is what we get the final the megaspore 1 at the end of this megasporogenesis process. We got the 1 megaspore only. So this is nothing but what? A new cell that is formed from the mother cell. Out of 4, 3 cells gone, 1 remain left functional. Fine. Now, what will happen to this megaspore which is remain there, or which remain functional? This megaspore is going to develop, okay, into female gametophyte. Okay, this female gametophyte, as we have already seen, this is nothing but what? Embryo sac. So this is the megaspore that is going to develop into this female gametophyte. So this process of formation of this female gametophyte from one megaspore is known as monosporic development. Monosporic development. Monospore means one single spore. So one single spore remains there. So this megaspore develops into female gametophyte, the process known as monosporic development. So the formation of megaspore is megasporogenesis. From one megaspore, the development of female gametophyte is known as monosporic development. Okay, now we will see this monosporic development process, means how this megaspore developed into embryo cell. We will see this now. So let me draw the megaspore first. This is also, let me draw it. Okay, so this is the single megaspore functional one. Okay, and this is nothing but a cell, and cell is having a nucleus. Okay, now what happened? This single nucleus inside the megaspore, okay, undergo mitosis cell division. Okay, and from one nucleus we get 2 nucleus there, and then each nucleus move to the both the poles. Okay, let me tell you in the beginning only. Suppose this is the, let me label it here only now. This is the micropylar end. Okay, and this is the chalazal end. Okay, micropylar end means micropylar pore is there. So each nucleus, one nucleus move to this pole, another nucleus move to this pole. Fine. So there is no nucleus left here in the center. Now each of these nuclei undergo mitosis cell division twice. So first mitosis division, it gets 2 nuclei. One nuclei undergo mitosis division, forms 2. So 2. Again these two nuclei undergo mitosis cell division. So I'll get ultimately 4. Okay, because this nucleus divide becomes 2, this nucleus divide becomes 2. So 2, 2. So ultimately I got 4 nuclei at the end of 3 consecutive mitotic cell division. 1 in the beginning, 2 here, 2 here. Okay. Now after this, out of these 4 nuclei, 1 nucleus will come back to the center from each pole. Okay. So I got back the 2 nuclei in the center again. So let's rub this again. So 1 nucleus gone from here. So now what happens? 3 nuclei left at the chalazal end, 3 nuclei left at the microvilli end. Okay. Now these nuclei, okay, now they are going to get separate cytoplasmic surroundings. Okay, that's a cytokinesis. Okay, cytoplasmic surroundings they will get, each of these nucleus. So and they will become separate cells after cytokinesis. As we know, after cytokinesis cells divide. So how the next mature stage would look like? Three nuclei got their cytoplasm surrounding and the membrane also, so they become 3 cells. Okay. At the chalazal microvilli end also, three cells. Okay, assume that this is the largest out of these 3. This is the largest cell. That's why I have drawn it separately. Fine. And at the center, these 2 cells get one single membrane. They are wrapped with one single membrane, 2 nucleus. Okay. Now let's level this whole diagram first. This cell division is done, the nuclear division is done, the cells are also divided. So ultimately we see how many cells here? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one cell. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 cells we get. How many nucleus we get? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So let's label it. These 3 cells together called antipodal cells. Okay. This cell at the center is known as central cell, and these nuclei inside are known as polar nuclei because they moved from the poles, if you remember. So these 2 are the polar nuclei. So let's label them also. These are the polar nuclei. Okay. Now these 2 cells, okay, they are known as synergid cells. This cell is known as the egg cell. This is the female gamete. Okay. So we see what? We see 7 cells inside it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cells, but 8 nuclei. This stage, 7 celled and 8 nuclei stage, this is the mature embryo sac. A mature embryo sac. Okay, so this is the mature embryo sac which developed from that one single megaspore. Clear? So a mature embryo sac means, again I am repeating it, embryo sac means the female gametophyte. So gametophyte is the structure that contains, that holds or that produces gamete. So female gametophyte is the structure that contains or that holds female gamete. So we see already the female gamete inside it. So this is the female gametophyte and we see the female gamete inside. Okay. So this is the mature embryo sac. 7 cell 8 nucleus stage. Okay. Fine. So this is what we have seen, that first is the megasporogenesis. So megaspore formed, that megaspore developed into the female gametophyte, that is the embryo sac, okay, and which produces the egg cell in it. Clear? After this we will be studying about the fertilization inside this embryo sac, okay. So remember this embryo sac that we have studied here, this is present inside the what? Ovule, okay. For today this much, okay. In my next class I will be discussing about the pollination, because before fertilization I will be discussing pollination, then fertilization. So pollination, then I will see the fertilization in seed, and then we will see the post fertilization events. After fertilization, what happens into this structure, the developments, post fertilization development we will see. Okay, so this much for today. Please see this video again and again, okay. Try to understand this, note down each and everything. Diagrams are very, very important for you with the labelings. The meaning of labelings to understand is very, very important. Still, if you, after seeing this video, if you come up with doubts, questions, please ask your question in the comment box there. I will be definitely answering your question. Okay. Hope you would like it. Thank you so much.